Hi guys, today we're going to be going over my tips to play Sadako since her rework. All things are going to be timestamped so you can jump around specifically to what it is you care about, because I'm going to be doing this for people who are both experienced and people who have never played Sadako before. We'll be going over everything, including her actual power, for those who don't know anything about her, whether you've only just bought her or you're looking to buy her. Then we're going to be going over the playstyle that I personally use, and found it to be by far the most consistent, and then we're going to be going over my personal build and the variations of that build that I've had the most success with. First, going to talk about her power. Upon loading into a match, there will be TVs dotted around the map by generators. Sadako is able to teleport to any of these TVs when she demanifests. Demanifesting is a power with no cooldown that makes Sadako lose her terror radius. She does have a lullaby in this, which you can hear within a certain range, like the terror radius, however.
Be honest. He's invisible.
It also makes her turn invisible to the survivors past a certain range and makes her phase in and out of visibility, much like the spirit. On top of this, when she manifests, she stays undetectable for a short amount of time and continues to phase. While she's demanifested, she cannot be stunned by pallets, but you also cannot get into a chase. This means you cannot gain bloodlust. While she is demanifested, she also loses collision with survivors. Sadako is one of 3 killers who has the ability to instantly kill survivors without the need to fully hook them or bleed them out due to her condemned power. Each survivor can have up to 7 stacks of condemned. Once a survivor hits 7 stacks of condemned, killer instinct will be activated, showing their position, and if you knock them, you are able to instantly kill them. There are 2 ways to condemn survivors with your base kit. The first is teleporting. Each time you teleport to a TV, anybody who isn't holding a tape will gain 3/4 of a stack of condemned. If a survivor is holding a tape, hitting that survivor will cause the tape to disappear from their hand, and they will add 2 stacks of condemned onto that survivor. Survivors get tapes by going up to TVs that are turned on and taking them by interacting with them. They must then deposit this tape into a different TV to remove stacks of condemned. This other TV does not need to be turned on, unlike grabbing the tape. You can tell if a survivor has a tape because if you look at their portrait in the bottom left, they will have like a fuzzy thing in the background. The cooldowns on our power base kit are as followed. Sadako teleporting to a TV will make it go offline for 45 seconds. Survivors turning off a TV, whether this be through grabbing or depositing a tape, will turn that television off for 70 seconds. Using your teleport will prevent you from teleporting to another TV for 10 seconds. Before we continue, I will note this video will not be instantly recommending the iridescent video tape. Most players will instantly recommend this. If you have the ability to get a lot of them, I also recommend it, as it is her strongest add-on. However, it's unrealistic to expect anybody to be able to run the rarest add-on for her every single match, and having everyone tell you to run it all the time can be very frustrating if you're just trying to get into her. Also, more importantly, if you become good as Sadako without her iridescent video tape, you'll become a much better player overall. My second tip is to watch a player called Onepumpwillie. He's probably the best Sadako in the world, and he's fantastic for 2 reasons. First, even though he runs the Iri tape every single match, he will show you tips and tricks that you can do with Sadako during his gameplay, which you can implement into any Sadako build. Second is he's phenomenal at talking through his mind process during gameplay. This will let you understand why he's doing what he is doing at any given point, and due to this further help you improve as a player by getting to understand her mechanics a bit more in depth. The next thing we will be talking about is the playstyle. The too long didn't give a shit version of this is this. Don't take chases. Sadako is a macro killer, not a chase killer. Get hits with sneak attacks instead.
This is what I didn't want to get into. I didn't want it to turn into sussy chat. Oh god! I don't like it.
You condemn his great base kit slowdown to teleport as often as you can to ensure you're constantly pressuring the survivors. Ensure no one is running around with a tape, because when they have a tape you lose all your passive slowdown. Try to be the one to turn off the TVs. Turned off TVs prevent survivors cleansing your condemn, and when you teleport the TV's cooldown is shorter. For a little more depth on these points, in the background is going to be footage from 2 popular Dead by Daylight content creators, Otzdarva and Spookyloopz. Both these players have really good knowledge of the game, and what you will notice is even these players are struggling to get downs with Sadako. Now I can't speak for anyone watching this, but I sure as fuck don't have tens of thousands of hours worth of experience and knowledge of every little tile on the map and how to play them perfectly like these two players, but I doubt you guys do too. So if those guys are struggling to go for chases with all this knowledge, the rest of us are fucked. This is a very common mistake when first playing Sadako or getting into her, and against efficient teams you're going to be punished heavily for it. Because while they loop you, you aren't teleporting, you aren't pressuring the tapes out of the survivors, and therefore you aren't getting the slowdown that you need. This is also true for condemned survivors. You don't want to be chasing someone who is condemned in the traditional sense. What you want it to be doing is predicting their movement. Do they have a tape? If not, try to predict what TV they will go to and surprise attack them from it. If they do have a tape, try to predict what TV they are going to try to deposit the tape into. Sometimes it's worth dropping chase on a condemned survivor, or not even chasing them at all if you feel you aren't going to get the down quick enough. To get stealth attacks, there are a number of things you can do. If you know the survivor is working on a particular generator, teleport to the TV one over from the generator that they're working on, rather than on the TV closest to that generator. This is because projecting to a TV makes a noise that can be heard from the generator, and the survivor will yo-yo off it. Teleporting to a slightly further one will let you project without creating a noise that can be heard from the generator. It will also allow you to demanifest the second you leave the television, hiding your terror radius. This then allows you to manifest by the generator they're actually working on, resulting in them gaining less distance as they have less time to react. The result of this obviously is improving your chance to get a hit. Another trick if you are in chase is to teleport to a TV relatively close to the person you're chasing. Survivor will think you've teleported to a pressure elsewhere and will let their guard down for a bit, potentially allowing for another hit.
Bro, she's hacking. Well, I'm actually just in my flop here. Well, this really isn't going well, to be honest.
As well as this, if you do secure the hit on somebody working on a generator, what I like to do is instantly demanifest and break line of sight, then sit close to the same generator. More often than not, they will come back to that generator to continue working on it, and you can potentially catch the survivor off guard alone for a hit. This isn't going to work against very astute survivors because you will have a lullaby, but it will affect a fair amount of them. There are also instances where you may want to take chase but for alternate reasons. One thing I like to do is take chase on key generator locations to create dead zones by breaking pallets. I will even play like a baby killer if it means I can take out key pallets that will help me later on in the game. When doing this, only do it for 2 or so pallets, so you aren't losing too much pressure from committing to creating dead zones. This works particularly well on Onryo because you can instantly drop chase and go to pressure somebody else by teleporting across the map at will. Another little trick you can do is when you're demanifesting, the animation and the sound that plays is very similar to breaking a pallet. What this means is if someone pre-drops a pallet, you can pretend to break it by beginning the demanifestation animation. Wesker is exactly the same, and when you do this, this can bait a survivor into moving off the loop early, which can potentially give you a hit. When you play Sadako, you're looking to get half and half in terms of condemn kills to hook kills. Hitting 4-man condemns is not realistic, especially against good teams, so unless you're trying to challenge yourself to improve your efficiency with her power, I would not recommend going for 4-man condemns. Also, if you find yourself consistently having to hook every survivor to kill them, you're probably not using your power efficiently. Look back at your gameplay and try and work out how you can improve in efficiency. The next thing we'll be going into is target acquisition. As with most killers, it's important to find the weak link in the team and get them out as soon as possible. The faster you can get someone out of the game, the more pressure you can build and the more you can snowball. There are 2 ways a player can be a weak link versus a Sadako. They can either be poor at looping, or be poor when it comes to dealing with your power. Out of the two, the ones with poor looping skills are the most preferred, since you can play around somebody who's good at dealing with your power, but poor at looping. It's much harder to deal with a good looper who's bad at dealing with your power, as they tend to waste a lot of time as you try to claim the kill. To identify a weak link, it starts as soon as the TVs turn on. Those who do not immediately grab a tape tend to be the ones who are weaker at dealing with your power. It's also good to know that most people who aren't good at dealing with your power are also ones who aren't that good at looping. Once you've identified the weak links, begin to focus your condemn on these players. Anytime you can, you want to be pushing condemn on them. If you see that they have a tape, you want to hit it out of their hand as soon as possible. Maintaining team-wide pressure is also important. Build your base kit slowdown, but you want to be paying close attention to the weaklings and focusing these players first. Next, we'll be talking about the build I use. We'll start with the perks and then we'll move on to the add-ons later. My perks consist of 3 perks that don't change and a 4th I swap around depending on the situation. Keeping with this guide being good for new players, of the 3 perks I don't change, only one is a DLC perk. Remember, we're running a hit and run playstyle, so that's what our build is focused around. If you don't care about the explanation and only the build, on screen is the build I use. For the add-ons, Mother's Comb and Ring Join. For the perks, Jolt, Sloppy Butcher and Corrupt Intervention are the 3 static perks I use across all my main builds. The only DLC you will need for this is the Plagues, as Corrupt Intervention belongs to her. Jolt and Sloppy Butcher are universal perks. As for the 4th perk, it depends on the lobby that you get. Franklin's Demise, which is a perk for the Cannibal, Enduring, which is a perk for the Hillbilly, Blood Echo, which is a perk for the Oni, and Bamboozle are all good choices for your 4th perk. You can also go with some information, like Nowhere to Hide. In general, the 4th perk is up to you, and just depends on the lobby that you get. If you get 4 medkits, I would recommend running Franklin. If you get 4 flashlights, I would recommend running Lightborn, because you can use the aura reading from someone blinding you to potentially sneak up on them. Save the Best for Last, which is a perk from Mike Myers, is also a very good choice, as it is with most M1 killers. The first perk we'll be talking about is Sloppy Butcher, which I consider to be the best Onryo perk. With hit and run, you want to keep everyone injured the whole time. This makes it so everyone is one shot at any time and also easier to find. As mentioned before, where you want to be doing sneak attacks with Onryo, having everyone injured means that when you do land the attack, it will result in a down. Sloppy is perfect for the hit and run playstyle since you're granted free slowdown from the decreased healing speed. In combination with Sadako's teleport ability, when you hook someone, most survivors are going to heal under the hook. The second effect of Sloppy causes healing progress to regress when you stop healing. So teleporting back to an unhooked survivor will interrupt the heal, and the time they spend healing under the hook will be wasted. It also means if you interrupt a heal from a medkit, you waste the charges on that medkit. The next perk is Corrupt Intervention. This perk blocks the furthest 3 generators from where you spawn, which is usually the one survivors spawn on. This is great for preventing you from losing multiple generators very early, allowing you to begin to build your condemn early and forcing survivors off generators to deal with your condemned, snowballing your pressure. This perk belongs to the Plague, who is an original killer you can buy with both Auric Cells and Iridescent Shards. Try not to get the down early, as doing so will cause Corrupt to end. Instead, just maintain your hit and run playstyle, injuring as many survivors as you can until Corrupt is almost up, and then go for the down. The last of the 3 perks that don't change I use is Jolt. Jolt will blow up all generators 32 meters around you when you get a down, causing any survivor working on that generator to scream. There are multiple reasons I use Jolt, the main one being because you are going for sneak attacks. Most of your downs are by generators being worked on, meaning that you will consistently get value from it. Also, since it requires a down and nothing else, you won't lose pressure kicking generators, and you will still get value from it if you Mori someone avoiding the hook, unlike a perk like Pain Res or Pop Woes the Rezo. On top of this, against good teams, you'll find yourself in 3 gen scenarios often, where you can get a lot of value from slugging. Slugging will drag people off the generator to heal the down person, without having to waste time hooking. It also allows you to get easier hits on players going to pick up the slugs player. It also gives you information as to what generator is being worked on, giving you a new target immediately, since it will show you which generators have blown up. As for the 4th perk, it's really just dependent on the lobby. C4 medkits, run Franklin's, a perk from the Leatherface DLC. This will make survivors drop the item they are holding when you get a hit. Perfect for the hit and run playstyle. You could even camp the item, similar to camping a generator, when you hit it out their hand. Perfect for sneak attacks. C4 flashlights, run Lightborn. Don't see too many items, run Blood Echo to counter made for this. Blood Echo causes all survivors injured to be exhausted for 45 seconds when you hook a survivor. Since you are keeping everyone injured, Sadako is one of the few killers who can get consistent value from it thanks to your base kit pressure. Blood Echo is also fantastic for preventing survivors from yo-yoing off a generator with something like Sprint Burst. It also removes Lithe, which is another very good chase perk for survivors. If you want more active chase potential, run a perk like Bamboozle from the clone. Bamboozle will make you vault faster and will block survivors from vaulting that window that you just vaulted for 16 seconds. This will turn loops like Shack from an area you never want to loop to one you can actually loop. Just block the window early. Next we'll be going over her add-ons. I use 2 mainly, however there are 4 really good add-ons you can use as Sadako, not including the aforementioned iridescent videotape. The first add-on we'll be talking about is Mother's Comb. This is a green add-on that will trigger a loud noise notification whenever a TV is turned off by a survivor. On top of this, all TVs that are turned off will be highlighted in yellow. This add-on is phenomenal as it removes the need to constantly be looking around 24/7 to see what TVs survivors have grabbed tapes from. You'd need to do this because, as mentioned before, you need to be hitting tapes out survivors' hands as much as you can to ensure you maintain pressure. As well as this, since it also lets you know where all TVs are and the survivors can deposit a tape into turned off TVs, you can try to predict what TV the survivor is most likely going to deposit their tape into and move onto it before they have the chance to. When you are not running the iridescent videotape, this add-on is a must-have. The next add-on I like to use is ring drawing. This will give survivors 1 stack of condemn if they heal another survivor. This is a great way to spread condemn passively while using the hit and run playstyle and doesn't require any input from you as the killer. On top of this, it further encourages survivors to stay injured, which, as mentioned before, you want. If they don't stay injured, they will be punished for it, resulting in a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation for the survivors. Not only this, but there is a good chance that the survivors will not know you're running this add-on until it is too late, and you may fully condemn someone because of it. That's all the information I've gathered and the playstyles I've found work best in my many hours playing Sadako since the rework. Now you've got that information, go out there and be somebody. Sadako is a killer that has a lot of techniques and would take some time to get used to. I would have added some gameplay with live commentary at the end, but considering this video is already over 15 minutes long, I decided to hold off on that. There are plenty of videos on my channel of me playing Sadako, and I may do one of the play-by-play between me and SinGDX, showing both perspectives. As for now, go out there and show the survivors what the Well Lady's capable of. I hope you found this video useful.
Oh my god. Oh, I'm dead! I'm actually dead! Oh, there's nothing I can even do!